They just can't work on it. They can look at it all they want to, make all the plans they want. They just can't work on it until they get that yellow condition.
That's our AT&T race break. Look inside the world of Richard Childress Racing. Jeff Burton of the 31 Chevrolet using CV on your AT&T handset. You can access all the inside RCR contents. Currently, Jeff Gordon is your leader, followed by Jimmy Johnson and Tony Stewart. 21 laps in under a red flag here in California.
Welcome back to the Auto Club 500, powered by Q Motor Oil on Fox, and we've taken some further looks at what happened to Casey Mears. And let's show you Mears as he's coming through here, and look at the weepers on the racetrack. Now here's Casey Mears. Watch him as he gets to that damp spot on the racetrack with his left side tires
there,
and watch what happens.
And watch the other cars that kind of straddle or go around that wet spot. He happened to go right through it.
He's about the only one through that group that we saw go right through it.
Okay, now here is Mears again up the top of the racetrack.
That's after he got loose and took off up the hill. Now he's up there in the loose stuff. And man, it comes right down into Dale Jr.
And here's a final look. There is Casey up there, way up out ahead of Jeff Burton. And you'll see the damp section of the racetrack there. And
yeah, the car just got out from under him in that wet place.
And I want to stress, we've been fighting this since Friday. They get the track dry, but as you mentioned, Mike, those seams, they get it dry, and then it just starts weeping water again, right where the pavement meets each other.
And when you're going 200 miles an hour, it's kind of like black ice. You don't necessarily, or you're not able to depict that that's a wet spot. You find that out if you hit it a time or two, hopefully without the kind of results that Casey had.
There you see some of the weepers where that water just seeps out of the seams in the asphalt. Friday night, crews worked here all through the night, digging up and sealing and filling. But still, anytime you have a great accumulation of groundwater after a long suspended rain here in Southern California, as in many parts of the country, you're apt to have these issues.
Yeah, I remember we had an issue like this, I don't know, several years ago at Texas.
Second time we went there, I think, in 1998.
Yeah.
So we have 21 laps complete out of 250, and we are under the red flag at Fontana. Jeff Gordon has led almost all the laps so far.
The Auto Club 500 on Fox, powered by Q Motor Oil, is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
Red flag at 21 laps. We hope to resume shortly. Next Sunday, NASCAR on Fox moves to Las Vegas, where Jimmy Johnson goes for 4 in a row. It's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 Pacific in high definition, and only on Fox. Here at Fontana, the report is that where the cars are parked in turns 1 and 2, Speedway looks pretty good. 3 and 4 needs a bit of work. We listened in on Jimmy Johnson and crew.
Yeah, there was. I think once we stopped, it got worse, at least from what I watched here at 2. Now they did a good job over here. They've got it dried up for now.
I'm sitting there and I'm watching what happened with Casey there, and as he was going through the corner there, that was a lot of water he ran through. I think that's why he lost it.
They are going to start the cars and bring them around to pit road so the jet dryers can work both ends of the speedway. NASCAR officials and Speedway officials out having a look, and there is one of the worst areas of where this water is coming up through the seams in the asphalt. Now, Larry, the 5 and the 88 teams that were involved in that crash, they share a shop at Hendrick Motorsports in Concord. And what's going to be the mood Monday morning when those teams come into work when these cars come back in the shop all wrecked. And I mean, it's hard when teammates take out each other, especially when they share a facility.
But certainly Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 88 team, Tony Eury Jr., they realize certainly Casey was a victim. I think what they're going to be the most upset about is why the 5-car wreck. That's probably going to upset them as much as anything.
Yeah, I think that when they look at the tapes, which they already have, you heard the guys talking about it, and they see how much water was running out of the racetrack. And you know, NASCAR asks these guys before they go green. I mean, I can remember every time they'll say, you know, how's the track look? What do you think? And, of course, with the cars running over that water, it might be dissipating it some. But now that they've stopped, we're seeing the real results of it.
The red flag is still out. They are moving the cars around to pit road to accommodate track drying. So here is a race summary brought to you by Q Motor Oil. Jeff Gordon has led all but 2 laps. Those 2 laps were led under the caution by his teammate Jimmy Johnson, who beat Gordon off of pit road. 32-minute red flag for the 4-car crash triggered when Casey Mears got into a little bit of the wet stuff and spun up in turn 2 and collected Reed Sorensen along with Sam Hornish, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Denny Hamlin brought out the first caution for a similar reason, sliding in the water in turn 3 and crashing into the wall, and he is in the garage area.
There's that opening where you take air and then on this COT down here, the new car, that is slanted. It's not actually straight up and down, and you can see the angle on it, and that's why that stuff has that. There's a cavity there, and that's why that stuff on this car particularly will get stuck on that grill a little bit more than what we've seen in the past maybe. There's another look at it.
And Mike, you talked at the top of the day about the unknowns, and we've raced this car 17 times, including at the 500 last week at Daytona, but I think this is still unknowns for this high-speed racetrack, how you need to cool these things and the efficiency that you need.
Agreed, Larry. We talked about a lot of unknowns. The racetrack was not one of them. Today is scheduled to be an inadvertent doubleheader. The NASCAR Nationwide Series was rained out last night. That race is scheduled to be run 1 hour after the checkered flag waves on this race. So it'll be a long Sunday evening here for NASCAR and the teams and our TV crews and the fans.
This car is still a work in progress.
Yes.
When we went to the small car back in 1981, when we downsized to the Buicks and everything else, it took us 2 years before we finally got comfortable with that car.
You know, Mike, you mentioned that we're looking at Clint Boyer right now. We have several drivers that will be doing that double duty, running 800 miles. And, you know, as I walked through the garage area this morning, I noticed a lot of things about these cars, and so much has been done for safety of these drivers. But I know a lot of these guys, they run the LaJoie seat. Randy LaJoie, who won the Busch Series championship a couple of times. And Randy and his group, they've put as much effort into the comfort of the driver as they have the safety.
Well, that's always been the compromise. We don't just sit in this thing for an hour. We sit in these things all afternoon, 3.5, 4 hours. So a lot of the things that we used to do was a compromise. We didn't want to wear a 3-layer uniform because it was too hot. We didn't want to wear gloves, too hot. Didn't want a full face helmet, too hot. So a lot of the things that we've gone to are out of necessity, and still comfort's got to be a consideration.
So rain right now, not a consideration, but the drivers are stopping along pit road as they work to try and dry the weepers up in the corners here at the Auto Club Speedway. If you've got a NASCAR question anytime, anything you want to know pops into your mind, we've got the answer for you. FoxSports.com's Ask the Pros, built by the Home Depot. Just type in your question, and DW, Larry Mack, or Jeff Hammond will be there to answer it for you 24/7. Go to FoxSports.com/AskThePros. And that got how many websites right after the Daytona 500?
They told me from the time it was, I think, promo during the Daytona 500 until Monday evening, I think it was over 16,000 hits.
Thanks, folks.
This the crews, they'll stay warmed up, and it looks like we've got some serious work that's about to go on here.
Yeah, we got a concrete or an asphalt cutting blade there.
Just go down to Hammond. He's got a demonstration, I'm sure, of that particular piece of equipment. I know he must have one down there somewhere.
That is not what Tony was going to allow the media to cut his hair with, should he have won the Daytona 500. So they're going to cut a few grooves, I guess, to allow that water, give that water somewhere to channel and to go, other than to lay up on the asphalt and be a problem to these race cars, because stock cars run on treadless tires. There are no sipes in these tires at all to dissipate even the slightest amount of moisture.
So we're going to do a little grooving on a Sunday afternoon.
I hate it when you're punny, but that was good.
That was.
That was good.
That's like a French drain, isn't it? When you cut.
No, not exactly.
But Daryl, I heard you in the pre-race address something, and I want to go a step further because we get this question a lot. I bet Ask the Pros is being asked this question right now as we speak, why we do not have rain tires. The only place that rain tires will work is on a road course where you turn left and you turn right. If you ran rain tires in an oval like here at California Speedway, there's so much load on the right side tires, even in wet conditions, it would wear those tires out so fast you couldn't keep them on there fast enough.
I've run road races in the rain, and mostly you spend a whole lot of time following the safety car at a slower speed than you drove to the racetrack that morning, because things happen. Folks want to see stock cars get maximum of adhesion on a dry racetrack and have a good competitive race.
Well,
not run in the rain.
And the other thing is when you run in the rain, you got to have defrosters, you got to have windshield wipers, you got to have all this other equipment to make it work, and it's not just as simple as putting tires on.
Dick Berggren has caught up with Tony Stewart.
He's out of his car talking to Greg Zipadelli, his crew chief. What is the condition of the racetrack in your view, Tony?
They got it dry down there in 1 and 2. I really didn't see exactly what they're working on in 3 and 4. There's officials out on the track, so we just try to give them as much room as possible. But you know, the good thing is we trust NASCAR and we trust their officials, and if they don't think it's right, I mean, we got to sit here and wait till it is right. You feel bad for every one of these fans and everybody that's watching. I mean, it's you know, everybody wants to see us race today, and we want to race for them. So hopefully we'll get it straightened out to where we can get back out there for them again.
Started 6th, running 3rd currently. How's the car?
Not real good yet, but you know, these things are so bad track position wise, you can't afford to give it up. So you know, the good thing is it'll give us some time to sit here and talk about it and come up with a game plan on what to do. Our teammates coming through there pretty good, so we'll, I'm sure, compare notes with those guys and see where we're at versus them and try to get it better.
Okay, thanks, Tony.
Stewart is 3rd. Kyle Busch, the teammate he referred to right now, is running in 8th. There's Kyle.
And there's a guy that is having so much fun. I mean, all he does is when he